Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. When it's Android over iPhone, and you can keep your stupid amiibo and always bashing on Nintendo. But that's Retro Fandango. That's Retro Fandango. Thanks, Retro Fandango. Wow!
Hello, and welcome to Retro Fandango, episode number 208. I'm here, Richard's here. I sung along to the theme song.
I almost did.
I was having a good time. Sometimes that theme song just like, yes.
I was just thinking it would be a pretty good ringtone.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea, actually. Make it your alarm.
Yeah, that'd be fitting. What do you have on your shirt? What is that?
Oh,
is that hero? Okay.
Greatest American Hero.
Right.
Cartridge Club is playing Fallout 3 this month. Go over there and check that out. Get in on the Fallout 3 action. I've played through that game twice. Once on the Xbox 360 and once on the PC. Because the Xbox 360, I believe, I just had the regular game. And then on the PC, I got all the extra stuff. So I got to do everything in that game. But that's the kind of...
Take you to play through that game.
I think that one took me, 80 hours.
Oh, okay.
But that is nothing compared to Fallout 4, where I think in that game, if you look on Steam, I think I'm up to like over 90 hours, and I haven't even made a dent in that game. It is just insane in the membrane. They threw everything into that game. Everything's in there. And then if you're wanting some utter frustration, go over to the Beat the Bandy Challenge over on the Retro Nonsense Discord, where this month they are playing Berserk. And I just checked in yesterday. I just kind of, did a little snoop in there just to see what was happening. And Duke's score is like unbelievably high. You know what? I'm going to say it. I'm just going to say it. Duke ruins that challenge. He completely ruins it. It's like, well, there's no point. You think it might be a little back and forth or anything. No, I got 40,000 points. No one can touch me. Oh, yeah.
Man's dedicated. That's what he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't go around buying VHS tape. Oh, no, wait, he does do that too.
Yeah, he does that too. And vinyl records.
He does everything. Look at that.
And goes and cheers on Mother Brain during her triathlons and decathlons and all that stuff.
And he makes his own. He's got his own podcast going out. He makes songs for other shows. Podcasts.
Yeah,
that is it all.
And he ruins the Beat the Bandy Challenge. Bandy's got to pick some more puzzle games that Duke can't play. That Duke's not very good at. Get Dr. Mario in there. Do that, Dr. Mario. I think we could beat. We collectively could beat the Duke on Dr. Mario.
What if we gang up? Are we allowed to combine scores? Can it be like Duke versus everybody else?
I think that would just build up his ego even more. I can take you all on.
Maybe give him some sort of penalty. If you've won the challenge too many months in a row, you can only use one hand to play.
Like Darth Vader fighting Luke Skywalker. One hand. By the way, I always thought that the reason why Darth Vader fought Luke, because he saw him as like an insignificant bug, like it was just like pure ego. Like, yeah, this guy Luke, he's got nothing. I can just beat him with one hand. But then there was somebody that was talking about that fight, and they were saying that Vader was actually fighting him because he didn't want to kill Luke, so he gave himself a handicap. Like he kind of like, I don't want to accidentally like kind of kill Luke. I kind of like want to try to bring him over to the dark side. So I'm just gonna, see what he's got, and then eventually I'll beat him into submission and get him to join the dark side.
Yeah, well, it's a little combination. He's trying to teach him a lesson, but Basically, yeah, he's just messing around. He could kill him at pretty much any moment.
Yeah. He just has to do the force choke on him or something, and he's toast. Instead, he's like playing with him. Yeah, it's
He's kind of
Rocket Sauce.
testing him as a little bit of the hey, this is my kid. Let's see what he's got. But at the same time, I got to take care of business.
Rocket Sauce is wondering why we're talking about Star Wars.
We're trying to get people to listen.
Yeah, it's old school Star Wars. Hey man, we got tons of stuff. Let's see. What did we do? We both what's the big show right now? We both watched the Obi-Wan, so we got
Sure did.
we're going to comment on that. We played the Turtles game, the new Turtles game.
Not only did we play it, we posted pictures of us playing it.
Yeah, and go check that out on our Discord. And what's another big thing we did? We
got comments on Johnny Depp.
That story just won't die. It just keeps going and going. No, we didn't do any of those things. How do you
know? How do you know I didn't do those things?
Well, I know 100% that you didn't do any of those things.
Mm-hmm.
There is a chance that I might have done those, but I didn't do any of them. I have been going to Disney Plus, where the Obi-Wan is, but I'm watching a different show.
Mickey Mouse?
No, I'm watching the Orville over there.
That's on Disney Plus?
Here in Canada, yeah. In the States,
what does Disney own?
I think in the States they own Hulu.
Is that on Fox?
It used to be, but then Fox dropped the show. And then Hulu picked it up. And then I think at some point, I might be wrong on this, but I think at some point Disney picked up Hulu. So then they ended up owning Orville. And we don't have Whoville. We don't have Hulu here in Canada, I don't think, unless you got one of them blockers things or whatever. Look at you with the big water bottle this week.
I didn't have a chance to make tea, so
I think I'm setting a trend here. The big water bottle. Look at this. Wow, I got a tea and the big water bottle.
Oh, look at that thing. My little puny bottle, I got nothing on that flask.
I think the camera adds 10 pounds to my bottle. Sauce says they own a share of Hulu. And so did Fox, but they own that share too now. All right. Well,
Disney.
That's right. Yeah.
They get their hand in everything.
Disney owns Fox now too. Oh my goodness. No, we did not start an hour ago. We're 8 minutes in. Believe it or not, we're already 8 minutes in. And we've talked about nothing.
I did, when I saw all the postings about that Ninja Turtle game, I did go to Steam to see how much it costs.
And?
That's kind of like playing it a little bit. I was clicking on icons.
Well, how much is it?
It's like $25.
Oh.
Yeah. I'm more than happy that when that thing shows up at like 60% off or something, I will consider it.
Or maybe even Epic Games will give it away for free.
In a year or two, yes.
Could happen.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I'm patient.
It's one of those licensed games too, so you can't wait too long.
Yeah, but this one's pretty big. And Ninja Turtles, like the ownership rights have been cemented. Before the other ones disappeared because they got sold to Nickelodeon, but they've had them for so long now. And to be fair though, it does look like if you want to play a Ninja Turtle beat 'em up with some friends, it does look like a pretty fun time.
Yeah. I'm interested in giving it a shot, but I didn't even know about it until today.
Everything you just see all the posts.
Yeah, I logged on to Twitter. I got a friends thing on my Twitter, right? I go right to my friends thing, so it gives me all. I have 73 people in there, the elite 73 in my list, and everybody was posting about that game, and I'm like, I've never even heard of it, but it seems pretty cool. You can play as Casey Jones.
Yeah, they did a very slow reveal on that, whereas I don't know, like over a year ago, they started posting videos, and then little by little, like, oh, you can play as April. I could play Splinter. I could play as Casey Jones. And everybody knew it was coming. It's kind of obvious, The one that got me is just like a week or so ago, right before it launched, they said, "Oh, by the way, it's 6 players, not 4 players." Like, oh, okay.
That's a party.
Yeah. Original voice actors from the TV show, really?
Wow.
All of them?
They're all still around, right?
Dang,
6
I mean, they could
people
just sample voice clips.
And that's right. It's on Game Pass too. So everyone who has Game Pass was playing it. That's why everybody got it right away. The old Game
That's
Pass.
cool.
I almost got the Game Pass for $1. I almost got it, but then I said nah. And then I started playing a game on my Xbox, and now it does this
Except
annoying thing.
Shedder.
Oh yeah, that's right. Uncle Phil passed away. Cheddar cheese. But now my Xbox, it's kind of annoying. Every time I turn it on, it like wants me to, it starts asking me about Game Pass. It's like, hey, pick a Game Pass thing. Like, do you want this one or this one? I'm like, I don't want any of them. I'm good. I'm fine. I'm playing my Forza 5 that came out in 2013. I'm good. That's all I need. Thank you very much.
Everything being connected to the internet now, you're constantly getting advertisements. You used to
Yeah,
be able to just pop on your system, put in a game, and play what you already bought.
I will say though, it is really creepy how that Xbox does that, like instant game, like instant on. Like I hadn't played Forza 5 in probably since the fall, sometimes in the fall, and I put the disc in, and the thing was shut off. There was even we had a 26-hour power failure here. The thing was powered down, and I put the disc in, and before I could sit down in my chair, the game it like fired up right where I was in the middle of a race, and the car's like going down. I'm like, that. How does it remember? Like, how does it pause that? That's some sort of weird magic where it just keeps it in pause somewhere, and I guess it stores it on the cloud or something, and just pulls it out, and boom. Yeah, I don't want ads. Yeah, I don't want ads. No ads. But he wants ads in his game. All right. So when we last left you, you might remember that I was fighting a chickmunk that I thought had died.
Wait. I thought you said it was a mouse.
Oh, sorry. I screwed that up. I screwed it all up. Pause for edit. I was fighting a mouse that was up in so anyways, a couple of days pass. I hadn't heard anything. And then we hear like massive noise. Hey, here's Duke.
Hey, Duke.
We hear massive noise in the wall. And I'm like, this does not sound like a mouse. This sounds like something a lot bigger. And it sounded like a chickmunk. And then it's a step up. It sounded like 2 chickmunks were like battling it in there.
Are you saying chickmunk?
Chipmunk.
Okay.
Chipmunk. So it sounded like the 2 of them were battling in there. Like, what is going on? So we went outside, couldn't, still trying to figure out where the heck they're coming in. And we kind of figured out like, okay, it must be this hole here. This is where we thought the mouse was coming in. And we put a block of wood in there. Like we stayed and we listened, and it was quiet, and it was very quiet for a long time. And then I'm like, okay, well, maybe we should set up some traps outside, because we were still thinking it might be a mouse. And we set up some traps on the outside of the house. And then I actually sat in a car and I waited outside of the car for like until it got dark, waiting for like a mouse or something to come out, because I could kind of see where, we thought the mouse got in. But it turns out that it was like this bigger hole closer to it was like in your brickwork, you have these weeping tile vents, and they put these vents in case the weeping tile gets clogged or whatever and starts filling up, and it can actually flood into your home. So they put these vents there so the water will run out in case that happens. But if that happens, you're having a serious problem anyways. So we actually found like we're thinking like that's the spot that they're coming in, because the more cement around there. It's not cement though. What's that called? Mortar, where you put the rocks. It's concrete, then it's cement, then it becomes mortar at some point. It's all the same stuff. Anyways, that mortar was kind of like wearing out, and it looked like something was running in and out there. So we waited all night, didn't hear anything. So then we put a big chunk of wood there, and then I'm like, okay, So, or actually, what we did was we then put it was like a piece of steel wool. We put that in the hole, and when Sarah, I left for work, and Sarah just happened to be at home because I was taking my car in to get repaired, and the steel wool was actually pushed out of the house, like it was pushed, and it's like a mouse wouldn't do that. I'm like, this has to be something other than a mouse. So, um, Sarah's like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, just put the steel wool back in, and then if the steel wool is on the outside of the house again, then we know that like they ran out and they're out. If they push it on the inside, then we know that they're in there. So she put steel wool in there again, and then when we went to look at it in the morning, it was still there. It hadn't moved. So then she ended up taking it out and just kind of like standing watch there, making sure that like if something comes out. And then sure enough, a chickmunk came running up to the thing, and it kind of saw her, and then it kind of stayed there. And then another chickmunk started running out of the thing, like poked its head out, but then it went back in. So basically we just left it open and waited for them to get out and leave. And then I just put a big block of wood in there until I got some foam and sprayed it in there. But chipmunks, 2 chipmunks.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're saying chickmunk.
I'm saying chipmunks. Listen, don't make fun of my accent. Okay, come on.
Is that your Canadian accent?
That's racist. I'm not
I
a
was
fan of Roger Rabbit. What is going on in this chat? Who is not a fan of Roger Rabbit? Come on, Duke.
Dukester.
You know what? When I agree with Duke, I like agree with him a lot. And then when I disagree with Duke, I disagree with him a lot. That's like, come on, Roger Rabbit. That's a classic.
It was a good movie.
Yeah. So, anyways, got the hole all plugged up. There's no more rodents inside my house. I'm so happy. But that took like, a few days to clear that all up because, you didn't know what it was. And then it kept happening and all that. It was a pain in the arse, but they're gone now.
Oh. I was hoping it was going to end up with you like in an Elmer Fudd-esque situation where you're putting a rifle barrel into the hole.
My grandfather would
tree behind you.
My grandfather did. He loved chipmunks. He loved them, but squirrels, he hated them because they would get into. You'd make these bird feeders all around his cottage, and they would get in there. So if he saw a squirrel, he would go grab his .22 and shoot it.
I don't know why people get upset about that. It's like if you put a bird feeder out and you're like, all right, birds are coming. You put it out and a squirrel goes and gets it. Isn't it just as entertaining, if not more entertaining, to see a squirrel?
Yeah,
they hang upside down. They're all cute and everything. And...
No, I said that wrong. It wasn't a bird feeder. They were bird houses. So they would get in there and like eat the eggs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Squirrels
or like
eggs,
if they had,
huh?
they'll eat anything, man. I've seen a squirrel or a chipmunk actually. It was just sitting there and there was a bug there and it just ate it. Like, oh, you think like a chipmunk, they would just eat, seeds and nuts and that. No, they eat anything. They're animals.
I don't know. We don't have squirrels or chipmunks here. I haven't seen them in so long.
Duke wants to know if a chickmunk is a female monk. I don't think you can have those. I don't think they're allowed.
That's sexist.
Well, we all know what's going on there.
Mm.
Anyways, so that crisis finally went away, and then that washing machine that I went in, I spent $300 on that. I got a new part for it. It's a new transmission or gear case, depending on where you are, whatever you want to call it. I installed that, took it all apart because everything on this washing machine hooked up to the gear case. So I had to take it all apart, put the new gear case in, put it all back together, start running it. It ran 3 loads of washing and then it died again. So went and checked all the parts. This was all just within the past, like last week, checked all the parts. And I got my dad's old voltmeter, so you can go and you check the amperage on all the different electronics and all that, and it all checked out except for the board. The board on it was given like all sorts of weird different readings and that. And I'm like, I'm not 100% sure if the board is giving weird readings or I'm not doing it right because I'm not an electrician or an instrumentation engineer. I just don't know what's going on with this thing. So looked up like uh, to replace the board would have been another $300. And then I was looking online where they say you can just replace some capacitors on there, which I've done before on Ataris and NESs and that. And they said, if you got a bad capacitor on there, you can just replace the capacitor. So I'm like, I don't remember if any of the capacitors were bad or not. So I had to go and take it all apart again, look at the board again to see. And it was all fine. It was like, it looked fine anyways to the naked eye. So then it's like, what do we do with this thing? So eventually we just decided, can't just keep throwing good money at bad. This thing is like a money pit, So we ended up just getting rid of it and getting a new washer. I didn't want to fall in the trap of buying another washing machine from a stupid big box store that doesn't stand behind their products and just sells you the same crap again. So started looking online and looking at all the reviews and that, and they say the best washer to get, and these are like from Maytag repairmen and stuff like that are kind of like Scotty Kilmer with the cars. These are like actual repairmen who work on all these machines and that, and they'll tell you like what the best thing, what machines they never have to work on, and what the best ones are. And in the States, the best brand to get is something called Queen Bee. And these Queen Bee washers are they actually specialize in making commercial washers, and they make some for the general public using all the same parts. So there's no like coin op or anything like that. So they make them, but in Canada, of course, you can't get them. But then we found the loophole. In Canada, there's another brand. I can't. The name is like kind of weird. I think it's like Herbush or something like that. Herbush washers, and it turns out that they are Queen Bee washers. Speed Queen. Okay, sorry.
How did you get Herbush from Speed Queen?
What's the well, anyways, it turns out these Herbush washers are Speed Queen washers. Hubish? Sarah says they're Hubish. I say they're Herbush. Hubish. Yeah, they're Herb. Anyways, they are the same washers. They just couldn't get the rights to the name Speed Queen in Canada for some reason. So they're the exact same washers. So I'm like, okay, perfect. Let's get this thing. Wasn't cheap. It was but it wasn't cheap, but it was only about $500 more than what you would pay for a piece of crap at a big box store. So I think for some peace of mind to not have to replace this thing again in another 3.5 years, what the heck? Spend another $500 on a good one. So it just got here yesterday, and they came in and they delivered it. You had to pay extra to get them to hook it up. I don't need them to do that. I'm good to hook it up. So first thing I do when I get home and start messing around with the washer is I go to move it. And this thing is like a tank. I'm like ready to pick it up and move it. And it's like, I'm like, what? The old washer that we had that we just grew up, that thing must have been made out of paper. It was so light, like I could just move it around with one hand. This thing, it's like I have to get Sarah, like I had to adjust the feet on it to get it level, and I had to have Sarah hold it up for me in order to adjust the feet. The old washer, I would just hold it up with one hand and then adjust the feet and then put it down. It was so like crappy material in that. This thing has like a full back. I looked underneath. The old one had nothing under there. It was just all open. I look underneath this one, it's all covered, and there's all these braces and everything that's holding onto the tub, the washer tub, and they got like grease on them and that, like old school 70s washer. And I'm moving around, clunk clunk. This thing is like awesome. It's built like a friggin' tank. And then so I'm looking at the instructions to start hooking it up, and I start hooking it up like I hook up our our old washer. I just start putting the hoses in, and Sarah's like, "Oh no, you got to put in these screens, these extra screens." It's like, what? What do you need that for? So they give you like all these little extra, like it's totally overkill for what you're using it for, but you better use it or you might screw up your warranty or something like that. So they got like it's just all these little extras that they put in this thing, like screens on for both sides of the hose, the intake hoses, to make sure that no impurities get into
Mhm.
your washing machine. I guess that's what you pay for with the extra 500 points. And then the old washer just had like these plastic feet. These ones are like steel, like real steel. Like I had to take, in order to loosen them up, I had to take a wrench to like, give them a little push so I could loosen them up and turn them. And then you get these little rubber feet that you put them on. This must be how Joe lives. This is Joe's life, right? He just like, he doesn't know what, average box store stuff is. This is just everything comes to him like this. But Sarah had like such a hard time with that stupid washer. I mean, at one point, she was like wringing out the clothes after they would go because it wouldn't like go into the spin cycle. So the
Right.
clothes were all wet and she's like wringing them out in the tub. And I'm like, screw this thing. Let's just get a new one. So she's been using it. She used it all day today, and she did a couple of washes yesterday, and she's having a good time with it. So that's what you got to do. Next time a washer comes, don't go to the stupid big box stores. They're just going to sell you crap. Go find a Speed Queen if you're in the States, or a Herbush in Canada. That's your lesson.
So you got a real machine with like parts and well made and designed
Yeah.
to last.
Well, on the old one too, like when it would go in the spin cycle, the thing would like bounce all over the place. It would fly, like it would like start, jumping around and banging. I thought that might have been a sign that we had that bad gearbox, because that's the thing that spins the drum, right?
Mhm.
And I'm thinking, oh, that might be like it was leaking. That's probably part of the problem. So then when I put in that new one, it was still ran a little bit better, but it was still like very noisy, and you could tell that it was going to. This one, it goes in its spin cycle. You can't even hear it. It's like just a nice little machine noise in the background.
You bought quality.
For a change. I was
Yeah.
able to get something good. All right.
Well, you
Are we
teach
talking-
those chipmunks a lesson. They come in next time, you stick them in that washer. Show them who's boss.
I like chickmunks in general. Chipmunks.
Chipmunks.
Chipmunks. I like them in general. Like, when I was a kid, I would feed them peanuts all the time. We had them all over.
Yeah, cute.
Yeah.
Cute little things. I have no problem with squirrels or chipmunks coming around.
You just don't want them in your house.
No.
It's not.
You know what I got running around outside around here? The other day I was in here. I was doing a lesson. Did I tell this story? Maybe not. No. And towards the end of my lesson, I started getting calls, and it's like I'm kind of finishing up the lesson, so I'm getting a little annoyed. Like, why is my phone ringing so much? So finally, I was able to answer. And it's my wife, and she says, "Don't go outside." Like, what do you mean, don't go outside? Don't go outside. There's a wild boar running around outside. You know, wild boar. We don't have wild boars around here.
Oh my goodness.
Sometimes we get, we got crows. We get the occasional snake. There have been issues put out sometimes when a monkey, like a wild monkey, will come down from the mountain or something. We don't have wild boars. We got a boar. There's one running around. Apparently, it's been sighted all over the place. They send notices. Somebody saw it near the school, or it was seen over here. And I was like, all right, I guess I'll hang out and wait. And a day or so before then, I was over here late at night, and I thought I did hear something weird outside, just this kind of like kind of sound going around. I didn't know what it was, but she did see it one day. She's seen it like 2 or 3 times. I still haven't seen it at all. But we started getting the footprints, and then it pooped in the yard, and there's all
Ugh.
these different signs there. So someone from the animal control from the city came by, and they set a cage up on a hill. So there's a wild boar trap there, and we're supposed to peek at it every day to see if there's anything in there.
And
But
nothing
apparently
yet.
it's been wandering around from area to area, so it may not be here anymore.
Have they been like reforesting your area at all? Like,
That's what I was wondering, because this has never happened before, and we've lived here, I mean, for over 10 years now. I was like, I've
yeah,
never seen a wild boar. Never had to be worried about this stuff. Apparently, though, like some of the neighbors have seen it, and they say it's pretty calm. Like, they just walk by. It just walks by like a stray dog, like just
yeah,
looking for food. Apparently, they eat worms and stuff, so they'd stick their
dig.
nose in the dirt and start digging out worms and things. But I don't know. It's just one of those things that I've heard that you know you can get pretty hurt pretty quickly. Like they
Yeah,
bite you, or I don't know if they get those tusks. They smack into you.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, growing up in Coniston, the suburb of Sudbury, that was like a smelting town about 80 years before I was born. And they would just, throw rocks in there and burn them up to get the ore. And it would cause all this fallout from the smelter. And it just annihilated all of the nature around there. Like growing up, I had all these mountains, or hills, not necessarily mountains. They were more hills, but they all were black. They all have this black stuff on them. It killed all the trees and everything.
hmm.
And then in the 70s, they started this whole reforestation thing where they would lime like these hills, right? They would just go up there and they would just throw lime and it would take the acidity out of the soil, so things would start growing again
Hmm.
because the smelter had shut down, And over time, now if I were to go back there, you go up on these hills that I would climb when I was a kid, and you go up there and you could see the whole town. Now you go up there and it's just huge trees. You can't see anything, right?
Hmm.
But with that came nature. Nature came back. So growing up there, I've never seen like a skunk or a squirrel or you, no, not even a squirrel. Yeah, you wouldn't see a skunk. You wouldn't see a squirrel. Wouldn't see um, chipmunks. You wouldn't see um, bears. You wouldn't see raccoons. Nothing. Now you go up there and it's crazy town. It's what's that guy, Mister Doctor Doolittle? They're just everywhere. And one morning, this was years ago when I was at my parents, and I was I woke up at like 5 a.m. and I could hear their neighbor's dog just barking, this woof, woof, woof. And it just kept barking like just a constant woof, woof, woof over and over again. I'm like, what is going on? So I get up and I look outside and I look across the street, and there's this dog just barking at a bear who's going through the neighbor's garbage with one paw because its paw was injured, and it was just kind of like grabbing and looking, going through the garbage. And the dog's just like, woof. I don't even know if it was their dog. I don't think they had a dog. It was some random dog.
Hmm.
I guess they were fighting over the garbage. I'm like, this is a completely different place from when I grew up.
Dogs like barking at things. I remember one night when I was a kid, I heard my dog in the yard. She was just barking, barking, barking at something. I went out, opened the door. It was night out, so I took a flashlight, started shining it, and like within arm's reach, on the top of a fence right by the door, there was a big possum just
Ugh.
frozen there. The dog, he's just barking at, barking at, barking at. Man, those things, they're creepy from a distance. You see them kind of close up, and their beady little eyes, and they're
Mm,
kind of hairless, and that long
yeah.
skinny tail. Man, those things are creepy. And I just had to I, I'm trusting that it's not going to move because it is playing possum, but I got to reach for my dog and bring her back in. I don't want that thing to scratch my face off. This thing
Mm,
would give me the creeps.
yeah. No good. I don't like possums.
Hmm.
They're big, giant rodents.
Yes. Is exactly what they are.
Okay. Anything else we want to talk about?
Been kind of a slow week for me. I did watch a bunch of movies. I can do the movie rundown.
I haven't watched any.
Really?
Well, I forgot to mention that I talked to you a little bit about it after we stopped recording, but Sarah and I made the executive decision to uh, try and watch all of Breaking Bad and
Oh,
then
right.
all of Better Call Saul before the season finale, the series finale of Better Call Saul.
Now
So
you
we'll
just
have,
used a key term. Tried to.
well, we're trying to,
Okay.
or it's still going.
That's a lot of episodes.
Well, I got it all in a spreadsheet right now, and I have it where like every time we watch an episode, you check the box beside the episode, and
Mhm.
it keeps track of how well you're doing. So right now, as of now, the series finale I believe will be August 11th.
Mhm.
So right now we're on pace. If we watch an episode and a half, we have to watch an episode and a half every day, and we'll be caught up for the
And a
finale.
half.
And 1.5 episodes. I could show it to you if you'd like.
I think I can picture that.
Okay. That'll just be fun to have a visual for you to
All right,
see.
go for it.
All right. Because I am a little bit proud of this countdown. How do I do that? I got to share screen.
Maybe.
Chrome tab. There we go. Share that. There we go. So there is my
Oh.
Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. See if I can expand on that a little. Hey, hold on.
Ooh, bless
It's
you.
allergy season 2.
That was
So yeah,
powerful.
right now there's every episode, like all the seasons and all the episodes we need to watch. And there's a total of 119 episodes, and we have 93 left to watch. In 59 days, 1.58 episodes. So if we were to watch an episode today, you check that off, and then 1.56. And we'll probably watch, if we watch 2 episodes today, get down to an episode and a half. And you guys, I better uncheck those before I get confused. And we got all that, and then all Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
That spreadsheet. Spreadsheets are fun.
Yeah. How long did you spend making the spreadsheet?
About an hour at work instead of doing work. You know, it was good times. I had one for the Orville as well, so I kind of just copied and pasted.
I remember seeing a posting of that one.
I can't remember how to remove this. Oh, there it is. There we go. So there you go. Spreadsheets are fun.
I haven't made a spreadsheet in a while.
Yeah, I had to watch. Oh, I didn't. Again, YouTube is just like a great resource for if you want to get into spreadsheets. Go to YouTube, and they'll show you how to do things. They got all the tips and tricks in there.
It was fun. I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. I have no idea how long ago now. But I remember having one particular job in the past, and it was the first time I ever had to use Excel. Because when I was a kid, I didn't understand what Excel was. I just you can make a list. You could just write things in little boxes.
Yeah.
It was the first time I ever had to really use it, and you had to learn okay, this is for doing equations and doing math. And you can make graphs, and you can put multiple pages on one thing. You don't have to create a new document every time. This is neat, and it was really fun messing around with it. But at the moment, I just have absolutely no reason to make spreadsheets.
Well, I got spreadsheets going for everything now. I got that
yourself
one. What's that?
I say you got to give yourself a reason to make spreadsheets, like TV shows and all that.
Well, yeah, the TV show one, and then we got one. Like I like to keep track of the car auto repairs. So every time you do something in there, you throw it in there, and it's like, oh, is it time to change the cabin filter yet? And you just go in there and say, oh, okay, I changed it on this date. We got for the collections, all like our movie collections, music collections are all in the spreadsheets. So when you're out and about and you see something for $2 and it's like, do we have this already? I don't know. Let's check. You go in the spreadsheet and see if you have one already.
I don't own that many of anything that I lose track of what I have.
I used to be like that, but I'm not like that anymore.
Hmm.
Well, the problem is like it's basically the CDs are the real problem because now they're so cheap. You pick them up for $2 and then you forget. Like, and then a lot of times you'll look at a CD and you'll hold it in your hand and you'll flip it around and then you'll check the disc and the disc is scratched. So then you take it and you put it back on the shelf. Now, when you run into that CD again, I remember holding onto it. I remember looking at it. I remember flipping it around. Did I buy it or not? I can't remember. So now you go look at the spreadsheet and it tells you. That's the big one now because you run into like the same stuff over and over again so many times. And it's like, do we have this already or not? I can't remember. And then you got two people, too. Did you buy this or did I buy? I don't know. Did either of us buy this? I can't remember. So I can go check on the spreadsheet. It's bailed us out of some embarrassing situations.
Fair enough.
And then big item purchases too. You can never remember when you bought something like a big item. Like I won't remember if we bought that washer in 2022 or 2023 in 15 years when the thing breaks down again or whatever. Right. So now you go and check on the spreadsheet. When exactly did we buy that? Okay, it's exactly this many years old.
Just get yourself a magic marker and write it on the side of the machine.
You could do that too. Yeah.
Installs. Put your initials on there.
Oh, and then like your filters for your furnace filters. I can't remember things. I can't remember when I've done things or that. So you just put them in the spreadsheet and then you go check that. And okay, I did that 5 months ago. I don't need to do it just yet. Another month and then I'll have to change it.
This is the only cataloging I do. I still keep all my movies just so I can.
Your movie watching, yeah, I got one for that too. Well, sometimes Sauce says I sound like a Q dog. Sometimes, not often, but sometimes those Q dogs they're on to something.
Mm-hmm.
They got a few too many rules, but they got some good ideas there.
That might be the next thing. Like I'm trying to predict what is going to be the next thing that people go nuts collecting, because I didn't foresee VHS being like this thing.
No.
Especially not, I taped it myself VHS and people are searching for the gold. I get a kick out of seeing those the commercials that Chris Roberts posts. He's like, oh, all right, yeah, I remember that commercial. That's neat. Now Bill's got a whole trunk full of concert VHS and all that.
Yeah,
I didn't know this was coming. So now it's like, all right, video games, got it. Old toys, got it. Movies, sure. Records, and then went into CDs, and then went into cassettes, and now people are in the VHS. Like, what is the next thing? What's the next tangible item that people remember having a lot of in their home that people are going to go nuts for?
I think that in the next couple of generations, it's going to be old technology, like old iPhones, old tablets.
Some people are into that already. Is like, oh, look, this is the early flip phones,
right?
The one that Mulder used in X-Files,
right? I think that's going to be the thing where people are going to start collecting those because they'll be able to find them cheap and.
I had this one, I had this model. This is the one I wanted to get, but it was too expensive back then.
Or someone will want like all variations of the iPhone or the iTablet thing or whatever.
Yeah.
Steven, CatMax Gaming says MP3 players, but
MP3 players, sure.
Steven collects weird stuff. He's way out there.
Well, he's still in his category though. He's got the toys,
But I do want to say about
Bill's. Now I don't know, Steven. You're into those like Kamen Rider belts and things like that. Feels like that's a generational shift.
I do want to say
Ninja Turtles
about Bill's tape pickup, recent tape pickup. Those are not just concert. Those are bootlegs, which I definitely would be, that's something that I would be into, because those are like bootlegs, to take them and digitize them, because that's content it's not easy to get anywhere else. I don't know if I would keep the VHS tapes once you got the videos there. Probably just give them away to someone who would want to store them. But that's a little bit different. That's exclusive content. So I don't, because Bill made a comment today. He said you hate VHS, and I don't hate VHS. It's just I don't understand why someone would watch Raiders of the Lost Ark on VHS when you can watch it in much better quality on anything else, and not cut in 4:3 and pan and
Well,
scan.
I do get it. Like, if you have the means to watch it, like if you have a VCR and you
I
have
do.
an old, you have an old CRT set up in one particular room, and if you are watching casually, it's background noise. You put it in, and then I would absolutely do that if I had like a VHS load and I had some old tapes. I'd put them in, but it wouldn't be my main watching. It wouldn't be, okay, I'm going to sit down and watch this movie.
Yeah.
I'd have it on in the back, and it's kind of like, there's something cozy about this, something familiar.
I guess.
can
I don't know.
understand that.
I just, if I'm gonna watch a movie, I'm going, like, to me, we made such strides to get to 16:9 and to get big TVs in our house so we can replicate the movie theater experience and get like more better representation of what it was supposed to look like in the movie theater at home, only to regress back to the way it was, which wasn't very good. It was what we had at the time. That I just,
But at the same time, there are a lot of movies that you saw on VHS, on a little 4:3, whatever, that you fell in love with as a kid and are still, some of your favorite movies today.
Yeah.
Like, there was nothing wrong with the way you watched it. It's like, that's how I saw Predator. I was like, hey, that's Predator right there.
I completely disagree. There was definitely a lot wrong with the way I was watching it, because I'll go back to it. It's my favorite example. Once again, I'll never forget the first time I watched Ghostbusters in widescreen for the first time. And I actually got to see Egon Spangler. He wasn't cut off the screen. And then what was that thing that Peter Venkman was giving Egon? It was like a blue white blob. Was that money? Was that a chocolate bar? I couldn't see it.
There are details that make the experience better. But no, you didn't hate it back then. You loved it back then.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did love it. No. Because if you didn't love it, you wouldn't then go to get the better version.
I love the movie.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
I hated the fact that I couldn't see what Peter Venkman was handing Egon. I hated the fact that he was cut off the screen. I hated that it was pan and scan. I hated when they're in the elevator and like half their faces are cut off. And does that sign say no smoking? Because it looks like it says no snoring because it's cut off on my screen.
That just makes your imagination work harder, and
I hated it. So when I saw it in widescreen, I was like, "Oh, finally, I could see all this stuff." And then when it came out on DVD, I could see it even better and clear. And when it came out on Blu-ray, I could watch it on a nice big screen, and I was seeing all these details that were on people's desks and stuff. And it's like that's what people saw in the theater back in the day. That's what I wanted to. That's what I want to see. I don't want to. I can't go back to blurriness, to blurry Ghostbusters. I don't get that. A Van Halen concert that's from 1978 that only exists on VHS, and take it and digitize it, put it out on YouTube. Yeah, I totally get that. Totally understand that, but I wasn't hard to please. Like, what are you talking about? Now. I was a kid. I was a kid, and I wanted to see Egon Spangler. Do
you have a copy of Ghostbusters on VHS?
Yeah, it's right over there.
Why don't you throw it in the trash? It's inferior.
Well, that is what I had when I was a kid, so of course I'm going to keep that, and it's part of my Ghostbusters collection. I'm never going to watch it, but it's there.
Wow. It's like people are allowed to enjoy what they like.
I'm not saying that they're not. I'm just trying to explain the nuance with the VHS because everything on the internet is either you 100% hate it or you 100% like it. You can't live in between. I'm trying to say I'm in between. I do get some of it. I don't get that part of it. That's the part I don't get. Just for like to hold on to a piece of cardboard and I don't know. I don't understand that part.
Oh boy. Rocket Sauce. I hated widescreen at first because I didn't want to see the black bars on the screen.
Yeah, you were one of the old men that we had to explain
Oh,
that
there's still
was the
people that don't get it.
real aspect ratio. That's how it looked in the theater, and that's why it's there. You're actually seeing more of the picture. This is more. How do you feel about captions on? Well, if I'm watching with someone who can't hear what's happening, then by all means turn them on. That's fine.
If I'm watching something casually, I'll often put the captions on just because I'm half paying attention. Sometimes it's easier to.
Sauce wants to know if I have Ghostbusters on beta. Stand by. Stand by, everybody.
Now you gotta make them stand up. You're gonna slow down. This is a pretty good shot, though. You got Kevin's rump right on display.
Okay, I'll just pull out the tape versions here. I got
you went
disc
for all of
versions.
them.
Well, there's the beta of Ghostbusters.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a little damage there on there, but this side's nice. And on beta too, they would put the cardboard on the bottom. Had it everywhere. And then this is the Ghostbusters I had when I was a kid.
Yes, Stephen, we would have believed him, but he's got to show him.
Well, you asked now. See, and I got the cardboard there. Oh,
that's a pretty good box.
And on this side, it's like that for some reason. And that's where the tape comes out, right there. Just to prove, there's the label right there.
Oh, he's not fake.
And I rewind. See, I was a good kid. I rewound my Ghostbusters. And then for the 15th anniversary, now some people bought the regular standard version of Ghostbusters.
Oh, some people.
15th.
People who didn't know better.
Because what you needed was the widescreen version. Widescreen. I never liked this thing, but whatever. It is what it is.
It's interesting how they promote the widescreen and then they make that photo on the cover even more 4x3.
They cut it this way. and look how they would actually, it wasn't a label. They would was that stamped on there?
Yeah, just stamped on there.
Nothing on the spine. You know? And then this was the first and only time I got Ghostbusters 2 on VHS. It did come out on VHS before with just the Ghostbusters 2 logo, but it was one of those big packages, like the Disney movies, and the clamshell, I think they call
yeah, those big plastic puffy clamshell.
Yeah, and I never liked that, and so I waited for I wanted it to come out in just a regular format, regular cardboard, so it would fit on my shelf with my other movies.
Oh,
so there you go.
Get ready for a crotch shot.
I
can show off some stuff too.
Oh my goodness.
For doing Ghostbusters, I got my Ghostbusters soundtrack right there. Keep that on display.
That's on vinyl. You got vinyl?
This is the only record I own. It's the only vinyl I own, and it's just a display piece.
Yeah, I got one for listening, and I got one on the wall around the corner.
I got Back to the Future up here. I got some of my laser discs. I still keep. I put them up there.
There you go. Steven's looking forward to Ghostbusters 3 merch. Go tune in for that over on Steven's channel because you won't see any of that here. Although my mom and my sister both texted me after they saw Ghostbusters Afterlife to tell me how much they loved it, and I couldn't bring myself to tell them that I didn't care for it. So I was like, all I said was, "Did you see the extra scenes at the end of the movie?" And one did, and one didn't. So there you go.
You get all the emotional drama that comes with a wacky comedy.
I do not have a taped version of Ghostbusters off of TV. I that's another thing that I'm just not into it. I'm not saying, like, I kind of understand it a little bit because it's kind of kitschy and fun to hear how they substituted the swear words and that, but I always hated that as a kid. I wanted like the pure version of the film. I hated like what I can't remember what he says. He says instead of saying we came, we saw, we kicked its ass. He says something else like we came, we saw, and we had a lot of fun, or something stupid like that. I never liked that. I like the original versions myself, so I'm not looking to collect any of that stuff. It's not for me.
There are some interesting ones out there, though.
Yeah, they're fun to like look at on YouTube or whatever, but to like I
Yeah,
need to
yeah.
have that on VHS in
Right.
case I want to see that. Like I'm not.
You're
I'm
not going to watch
judging-
it. You're going to look at it once, think, okay, and then.
I'm not judging anyone who does it. You have fun, do your thing. It's just
Well,
not,
you know what?
not
You
me.
say it's fun to have those on YouTube. Somebody
Yeah.
has to do the legwork
Sure,
to get
sure.
that on there. So.
Yeah, but once it's there, if everybody has it, you can just download. We ate coleslaw. We
Came, we saw, we ate
we ate
coleslaw.
I don't know. Maybe they did. I don't know.
It would be fun if they had the TV edit available on like the Blu-ray, and you can select that. Like, here's the censored version.
I wonder what they replaced Dickless with. I think I remember they just cut that out. He just says Dan Aykroyd says whatever. I can't remember what they do or something like that. It was a weird edit. It was a weird edit. Well, I can go watch it on YouTube, I guarantee you. But it was a weird edit where they just somebody says something and then all of a sudden Walter Peck just starts attacking Peter Venkman and you're not 100% sure why. Yeah. Richard Less. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right.
Clever.
Okay. One more thing before we move on to Richard's movies is I just want to say that Sarah and I got back into biking. We got a couple of bikes.
See a post on that.
Yeah.
You bought new bikes.
We had like these old crappy bikes that we bought at Costco 20 years ago. And I spent a full day, maybe 2 days, trying to get them back up to par. The wheels were all bent on them, and apparently you can straighten them out by tuning the spokes on them to get them all straight and in line. But they were so out of whack that I was actually starting to strip the spokes. Like they wouldn't turn anymore, so I'd keep trying to turn, and then it would just strip the spoke. So they just weren't worth fixing. So I did take out one of the bikes for a few days, and I took it out on a couple of journeys, and I was having a really good time. And I'm like, man, I really want to get. I was falling in love with biking all over again. I was like, I want to really get back into this. So when I brought the one bike that I took out, when I brought it back and I started like messing around with it, and that I found out that one of the brakes, or both of the brakes actually, on the front and the back, it's like these shoes that come and clip onto the thing. They were actually like rubbing against the wheels. So every time I would, pedal, the brakes were actually kind of holding me back a little bit. And I thought, like, man, I'm just really out of shape. I haven't biked in a hell of a long time. And I biked, I did a 110-kilometer run, and I came home and I was dead. I was like, man, I got to get back into shape. This is awful. When I got my new bike, I did the same run, and it was like, I just did a little light workout. I worked up a little light sweat. That bike was fighting me the entire time. And the tires were a little bit rotten on them. Like they all had cracks and everything on them. It was just a piece of shit bike. So yeah, and I got back into it. And Sarah has had some traumatic experiences on a bike. She broke her arm. She broke one time. She broke a leg one time. She had her bike
Oh,
stolen another time. She's had every worst experience with bikes. So
I
she's
had
kind
my
of
bike stolen when I was little.
yeah. Well, and then your mother rakes you over the coals like, oh, you didn't look after your bike. That's why, and that all that stuff kind of gets in your head. So then you're kind of traumatized with the stupid bike. So we went to a bike shop, and they actually let you test the bikes out in their parking lot and just ride
Mm-hmm.
them around in that. So I tried out a few bikes. She tried out a few bikes. We picked a couple that we liked. They tuned them up for us. We got a couple extra accessories. Like Sarah insisted on having fenders on hers because she didn't want mud in her face for some reason while she biked. And yeah, we've taken it out a few times since, and it's a good time. So tomorrow, I got a big trip planned for us tomorrow. Looking forward to getting out there, and so be locked on Canadian Grooves on the Twitter, because I might post some photos on there for our bike trip.
You wearing a helmet?
Yeah, we have to wear. Well, I mean, it's like a loose law, but by law you're supposed to wear a helmet.
That's for adults too, huh?
Yeah. Well, it's also different here. I know it's different in Japan. I've been watching all sorts of videos on YouTube of what biking is like all over the world, and here it's completely different because here people bike out of a way to recreation, basically, or a way to stay fit over that. Whereas in most parts of the world, biking is used as transportation.
Yeah.
Like to go to work and stuff like that. And to do that here, like the infrastructure is just not there because everything's designed and built around the car.
Mm-hmm.
I could spend a whole week load of podcasts on that. It's just complete garbage the way things are done here. But so yeah, like in Amsterdam and stuff like that, people aren't getting on bikes and biking like in serious traffic. Like they actually have the infrastructure there for you to bike properly and away from cars, and people aren't like going as fast as they possibly can. They're just trying to get somewhere,
Yeah.
without dying. And most places they don't. Most places in the world you don't wear a helmet on your bike. But here it's I think it's because of the stupid auto manufacturers and oil companies. They want to keep everybody in their cars, so in order to downplay all the accidents between cars and bikes and that, we'll just have the kids all wear helmets. That's their solution to the problem, instead of putting the infrastructure in there to make it actually safer for kids.
Yeah, there's a lot of areas where there's specific bike lanes, just so you have a place to go safely.
Yeah.
There's big parking lots for bikes. You go and you set your bike in there, just like you would a car.
Yeah, it's
I haven't had
different.
a bike for a few years though. I should get one too.
Yeah, and Steven brings up the fact there's no trains here too. Trains are a complete mess here too, man. They built this train station, this GO train station. It's like another street up from us on the highway. It's on Bloomington, so it's up there. And they built it out in the middle of nowhere. So everybody has to drive to the train station in order to take the train to go to work. And the whole point of the train station is that you don't need it. You shouldn't need a car, right? You just walk over there or you bike over there. You get on the train, you go to Toronto, you do your thing, come back. No, they built this thing out in the middle of nowhere, so everyone has to drive to it. It's ridiculous.
Oh, it's like a novelty. It's like, hey, let's go ride the train. Well, where are we going? Well, we're just going to ride the train. It's fine.
Yeah. Well, and I was watching this one guy too in Amsterdam. Like he'll have a place to go, right? Like he'll have to go to the airport. Okay, he'll show up at the train station and he just gets on the next train. He doesn't look at a schedule. He doesn't look at which way the train is going or anything like that. He just gets on the next train because eventually that train will end up at the airport. And it may take him an hour to get there, but he says like it's beats like having to look at the schedule, figure out where it is, then get on the right train, and then having to make a transfer and all that. You just get on a train and eventually it'll get there. It does. He gets at the airport. It's crazy. And a train comes like every 2 minutes there. Like they're just constantly.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's just a complete joke. I looked at what it would take me to. First of all, I can't take a train to where my work is. There's just no train that goes there.
Mhm.
So I looked at what it would take for me to bike and take the train to work. I can't do it at all because I work shift. But I was like, well, what if I work 9 to 5? So if I work 9 to 5, if I get up at 7 and then take my bike to the GO train and then take my bike and myself down to the closest stop, which is about 45 minutes away. And it would take me 2 hours, like 1 hour on the train, about 50 minutes to bike from the train station to where I work. So it'd take me about 2 hours to get there. Now, on the way back, I would have to hoof it from the train from work to the train station. Take me 50 minutes to get there. Say if I finish my schedule at 5 o'clock, and I would have to make sure I get to the train station at 5:45. Because if I miss that train at 5:45, the next train that leaves to my station is at 10:15 at night. There's 3 trains that leave in the morning and 3 trains that come back. And then in Toronto too, these trains they come down and then they sit in downtown Toronto all day waiting for the next rush hour to go back up out to the suburbs. It's
Well, I mean,
ridiculous.
supply and demand, right? Like if nobody's really clamoring for these trains, then they're not going to spend the money to run them around.
Well, the problem is that the infrastructure is not there for people to take the trains,
Right.
for people to ride their bikes. Everything's designed for you to take your car everywhere.
Mhm.
Everything is car friendly. All of our roads and everything. If you're not in a car, you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe walking. You don't feel safe on a bike. Yes, the streetcars are still a thing, but their streetcars are like 100 years old at this point, and the infrastructure that they were designed to serve was Toronto from, 80 years ago, pre-war. It's a joke. They're still there, but they're a bit of a joke. But yeah, like if they made things easier, if they made it easier for you to take the train, if they made it easier for you people would use them. They absolutely would use them.
Yeah, well, that's the style here. Tons of trains. Go to go to a big city like Tokyo or something, and forget it. It's train overload.
There's one
Anywhere you
train.
want to go, you can get there by a train.
Sauce says there's one train in Milwaukee and it covers a couple of miles downtown. Yeah, North America, we're so hosed here. We got hosed by the automobile manufacturers and the petroleum companies. So hosed here. It's ridiculous.
It's also a much larger area, so in a sense, it does make sense to have a car.
Yeah,
but you could have a functional train system that gets you around to the big places.
I'm talking just within Toronto and the GTA, the Greater Toronto Area, for people to go from work in the suburbs to, like, even the way our suburbs are designed, they're not designed in a way where you can walk everywhere or take a bike everywhere. They're just everything's designed for the car. You not only have like the barrier of where the place is, but it's not safe to get there because you got to bike on all these roads. But you got to bike past parking lots, and just like you look at the buildings, how they build, like a big box store, for instance. Like they build a brand new Canadian Tire. The Canadian Tire is so big. You go look on satellite images. The Canadian Tire is so big, and then the parking lot around it is 3 times the size of the Canadian Tire. Like I was at a Winners the other day. It's a discount clothing store for Sarah. She was shopping some stuff, and I had to go to Canadian Tires, and they're both in the same plaza.
Mhm.
But once she was done at Winners, the Canadian Tire is on the other side of the plaza. The only way to get there is to get in my car and drive, a few hundred feet to get because you can't walk there because there's no infrastructure there for you to walk. It's silly. The way that they do everything is just silly. Vancouver is in. Steven says Vancouver has pretty good setup with monorails. Vancouver is like light years ahead of Toronto. They, in terms of their trains and their biking system too. And then Portland, yes, Portland is one of the better cities, but still Portland. what was it? It was like Portland has like 6% of the people in Portland bike. That's like the most in all of America, where that doesn't even meet the least amount, which is like a city in Germany compared to Europe. Compared to Europe, it doesn't even meet the city with the least amount of biking. So there you go. Anyways, I had heard a thing about biking in Japan that I want to hear from you. I want a confirmation here because because I know this is exciting stuff. We've gone from talking about video games, talking about movies, and now we talk about city infrastructure. It's
Talking about washing machines and
washing
buses.
machines. I know. But we have some hardcore listeners here, and I appreciate Steven and Rocket Sauce for hanging out with us. And Sarah, too. I know she's there, too. But what was I going to ask? Okay, yeah, biking. So I heard a thing about biking in Japan. I'd like a confirmation from you. So I was watching a thing. It's all about... So the number one barrier that people have for not wanting to bike anywhere is safety. They feel like as if, they're going to be hurt. The number two thing that people are worried about is their bike getting stolen, theft. And I was watching a whole bunch of stuff about theft and all that. And there's like there's the guy who invented the Xbox. Actually, he created this app for people's phones where they can register their bikes. And if your bike gets stolen, it gets put in this database and it can be tracked, because the cops actually recover a lot of bikes. But once they do, they don't know whose bike it is, because there's no system set in place. Like, nobody registers their bikes. So they don't know who to return them to. So they keep them for a while and eventually they auction them off. But one of the cops that was involved in this program, they were talking about bike crime around the world. And Canada and the US, it's like more rampant than any other place. And he said something about, yeah, but in Japan, like, it's kind of, bike theft is kind of part of their culture. So a lot of it doesn't not get reported. So he said that if you were to go to your bike rack and your bike is missing, you would just take the next bike beside it and go do your thing. And then the next person who comes and they find their bike missing, they just take the next bike. Like, apparently the attitude is, if your bike is missing, it's okay to take your neighbor's bike. You're in need of a bike right now, so it's okay to. And I was wondering if I could get your perspective on that.
I have never heard anything like that.
I don't know. Maybe this guy was just full of it. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's changed quite a bit in the past 10 years or so, because it used to be, I mean, there are tons and tons of bikes all over the place. People bike all the time. Like I said, it's primarily for commuting, especially, like the high school kids. It's an easy way to get around. So quite often you'll see like a baseball team or something finish practice, and there's like 20 kids on bikes, going down the road, going home. So there's spots for bike parking at most places. But in the city, it used to be you'd have like those, the little bike, you stick your front wheel in the frame and you leave them there. But it was getting too cluttered and there were too many bikes piling up. So they got rid of that a few years back. And now they have these organized bike parking systems where you, just like when you enter a parking lot with your car, there's a little barrier, goes up, push your bike in, you set it somewhere, lock it in, and then you have to pay a fee to get out. You pay like $1 to get your bike out. So you actually have to go through the barrier and put a ticket in the thing and pay, and then ding, you go out. So it's a little harder to steal bikes in that regard. And of course, you got your own lock you put on it, whatever. But I can't imagine somebody just saying, well, I'm going to take the bike next to me because my bike is gone.
It sounded really fishy to me, too. I'm like, I got to ask Richard about this because this just sounds very weird.
At the same time, there are a lot of abandoned bikes. You go by train stations, especially. A lot of people, they ride their bike to the train station, leave it there, get on the train, come back, get on their bike, and then go home. But you go around some train stations, and there are just some old bikes sitting there that somebody left for one reason or another.
Hmm.
Maybe it was a stolen bike, and then somebody dumped it there. I don't know. Occasionally,
Yeah.
you'll see trucks go by, and they're just filled, like big dump trucks that are just filled with old bikes in the back because they gotta take them off to get recycled.
Yeah. Well, still leave a lot less of a carbon footprint than a car. I want to address some things here. So Rocket Sauce says, I don't want to be sweaty when I get to work. Well, that's not the point of commuting with a bike. If you had a proper, Dutch style bike where you sit up on and you ride with the pedals like that, it's not meant for racing and that. So you're not racing to work. You might be, raising your heart rate level a little bit and that. But like I said, like when I went out with a proper bike, man, it just felt like, nothing, like a light workout. And I went out of my way to like work at it. If you're just like riding for like 15 minutes or whatever, you're not going to be all like people in Amsterdam. They dress how they're, what the occasion is that they're going to arrive to. Like if they're going to a party, they'll dress up like they're going to a party and they ride their bike to the party or whatever. Because you're not going like 100 meters. Like it's a different mentality here. Like biking is seen as something that you do, like it's either a rugged sport or you're out on like racing on streets and stuff like that. You gotta turn that part off. And
Well, I
then he
agree
says,
with Rocket Sauce because, like you said, there are a lot of people here that they're going to work. You see people in a full business suit on a bike, and they
yeah,
throw their briefcase in the basket and they're on their way. And good for them. But uh, I don't know, maybe it's me, maybe Rocket Sauce suffers from this too. I sweat really easily. Like it doesn't take much. Getting on a bike and then going 10 blocks away doesn't
yeah,
sound like much, but yeah, it will get me going. And I'm just like,
yeah,
I'm going to sweat through my clothes now. So some people can do it. Some people can.
yeah, well, maybe, I don't know. And then, or frozen. Well, like, I mean, you're not going to freeze on a bike. You're just not. If you're not going too fast where the wind is like, you'll be fine. You're pedaling, so you're kind of working. So you'll be warm. You'll be fine. Just wear a toque. Put some mitts on instead of gloves, so your hands stay warm. You'll be fine.
They get a
It's all
lot of
good.
that stuff here. Like they sell these little covers that you put over your handles, so when it's cold outside, it's basically like a sleeve that comes over your
Yeah,
hand to,
yeah,
protect from the wind and all that stuff.
yeah. I think
The
it's something
worst,
you would get used to. And then if you want, you can bring a change of clothes with you. Just change, but you probably won't have to. You'll be fine.
yeah, well, the worst thing now is the obsessive smartphone culture and people on bikes. So you got a lot of people riding their bike like this, just watching screens.
Yeah, yeah, that's bad.
It's ridiculous. Not
I
even like
suggest,
a little mount on the handlebar or anything. It's people
yeah,
holding a phone
yeah,
and just like they can't stop.
yeah.
People are so addicted.
I got nothing. I don't listen to anything. Nothing. I'm biking. I'm at one with
That's
the
what you're doing.
bike.
You're riding a bike.
Now I will tomorrow bring. I have my phone there to measure our distance because I'm curious as to how far we're going to go. But you can just put that in your pocket or whatever. Sauce says he lives in Wisconsin. We have winter. I live in Canada. We have winter too. People in Denmark, they live in Amsterdam. They got winter too, but they got the infrastructure there to properly plow their bike paths so they don't get cluttered with snow and ice and that. And it's not that cold, man. You can watch. There's some great videos on YouTube. Just type in biking in the winter. There's that one guy. I can't remember his name, but he does a whole bunch of videos. He actually has a book. I haven't looked it up yet, but he has a whole book about biking in the winter. And I mean, all this stuff, it's just, it's fine, man. It's all good. Try it. You might like it. All right. We got anything else?
I'll pick one or two. I
Oh yeah,
had a
your
couple
movies.
of new watches.
What'd you watch?
Well, Well, here I will quickly tell you everything I watched
Yeah,
from the
I want to
beginning
hear.
of June. Just stop me when there's something you want to hear about. The Human Tornado, Alien, What About Bob, House Party, Trailer Park Boys the movie, Spies Like Us, Wild Wild West, X-Men First Class, Inner Space, Three Amigos, Double Jeopardy, Back to the Future Part 3, Duel, Blue Streak, The Big Lebowski.
Why did you watch Back to the Future Part 3 and not 1 and 2? You just
I
those
did
are on.
just in previous months. I just didn't watch
Oh,
them all
okay.
together. And it's been a little while since I've seen Part 3, which is probably the one that I watched the most as a kid. And I was kind of thinking like for some part of my head was like, this one maybe is not as good. Not as good. And granted, I think the first one is, a little head
Yeah.
and shoulders above the others, but
Hmm.
I really enjoyed Part 3 when I was a kid, and I watched it and I really enjoyed it now. It's a very well constructed film. I love all of the setups and the camera angles, like Doc saying, "Well, we got to find some way to push the DeLorean up to 88," and then they just had it framed where the train comes in, and Christopher Lloyd does that big wide-eyed grin.
Yeah.
It's great.
It is
But
a very well-made movie.
it is, and when I was a kid, I never really saw Part 2. Like I saw Part 1, and then I saw Part 3. And if you haven't seen Part 2, 1 and 3 really do just kind of go back to back because
Well,
it
yeah.
opens up with the scene of it's the recap of Doc sends Marty back from 1955, and then Marty comes running around, which was the reshoot at the end of the second one. But it kind of fits. Like I just watched Part 1, and now this goes in, and it never made sense to me. Is like, why is he talking about this book? What's this almanac thing? Where did the hoverboard come from? So I just knew that there
Yeah.
was another movie I missed, but
Yeah, because there would be like, well, and like the DeLorean was hit by lightning, so you wouldn't
yeah, so
really
they
know why.
mentioned that stuff, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I got it. I didn't see it, but I got it. This stuff
Yeah.
happened off screen.
Right. Yeah, I guess so. So you don't need everything explained to you like they do today.
No, and
Uh,
it's one of the successful, I'd say, few successful Western comedies. Because another movie on my list was Wild Wild West, which I never liked when I was younger. Years ago when I saw it, and I figured, all right, I'll give it another shot, and it was still bad.
I've
Um,
never seen it.
I'll tell you, well, I fell asleep one or two times while watching it this time, but I will say I like everything about the movie except for the two leads. The
Oh,
character,
Kevin
like it's
Kline.
it's
Is it Kevin
Will
Kline?
Smith and Kevin Kline,
Yeah.
and I don't like their characters, the way they're written at all. And Will Smith is miscast. It's Barry Sonnenfeld, the director, so it was right after they did Men in Black. So I
Yeah.
get it. He wanted to use him again, but Will Smith was appropriately cast in Men in Black. He was supposed to be kind of the loudmouth outsider. Here he's supposed to be like the cool, suave cowboy, but the Will Smith persona still comes out and it doesn't match. Yeah, exactly. Wild Wild West is bad, but Salma Hayek is in it.
Okay.
I like the villain. I like the villain and the weird, like super technology that they have in it.
Well,
That's all
isn't that
fun.
the movie with the giant spider?
Yeah, they have a big spider,
Yeah.
and the villain himself is in like he lost the bottom half of his body, so he's in this like little cart all the time, and he plays it really fun. I can't even remember who the actor is, but
Well, you've heard the
well,
Kevin Smith story, right, about that giant spider?
no.
So Kevin Smith, he just wrote Clerks and Mallrats, and he was like Chasing Amy. He was like the upcoming director, and at the time they were looking for to reboot Superman, and they were going to all the young hot writers to come up with the next a script for the next Superman. So they
Mhm.
approached Kevin Smith, and Kevin Smith was like, Superman, I love comic books, whatever thing. Like, okay, come up with the script. So he met with one of the big Hollywood producers, and the producer was like, telling him all the ideas, everything he wanted to see in the Spider-Man movie for him to put in the
Superman.
script. Or Superman, sorry. So he's writing down all these ideas. Okay, yeah, sure, I can do that. We'll do that. And he's like, and then I want the movie to end with a giant spider. And Kevin Smith's like, how am I gonna a giant spider? And he's like, yeah, I want a giant spider. Anyways, doesn't get to do the thing. But then, like a year later, Wild Wild West comes out, and that producer made that movie with the giant spider. That's how a giant spider ended up in the Wild Wild West. It's because some Hollywood producer that had a ton of money
really wanted it.
wanted to see a movie with a giant friggin' spider in it. I'm paraphrasing that story. Kevin Smith tells it a whole lot better. I think it takes him a half hour to tell the whole thing, but it's a fun listen. Sauce wants to hear you talk about X-Men First Class.
Oh yeah. That was a first watch for me. I thought it would be better.
So is that the first one in the reboot?
That's the one, yeah, with where they got the young McAvoy and Fassbender.
And Kevin Bacon is the...
Yeah, I didn't know
villain?
he was in it.
Yeah.
That's a weird movie. It's at some parts it feels like, okay, this is on track. This is going in a good direction. And other times it's like, now it's Kevin Bacon wearing a silly Magneto helmet. This looks really goofy. And there's a bunch of characters I don't care about, and they're in there for no reason. You know how movies have montages? You have like the training scene and whatever. This is one of those movies where it just feels like the entire movie is a montage because there's so much they're trying to do. They have so many characters that you don't have time for a scene. And it just ends up being lots of these. They spent all this time getting this location, setting up the cameras, getting the actors. Okay, we're filming the shot. Someone says one line of dialogue, and then they're already on to the next shot. And then it's like another big setup of like, oh, we got this great location, and we're going to do all the prep work. Say 2 lines. Okay, now we're out of here. Let's go do something else. And it just feels like a lot of scenes, they feel like they're cut short. They don't have a chance to really be a character. And it's just, okay, well, we got to introduce this. We got to introduce this. And the whole movie is just a series of montages. It doesn't sit well. So yeah,
I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was good. I liked what they did with, was it Silver Streak? Was he the guy that can run really fast?
You're thinking of the next one.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I haven't seen that one yet. I've seen, the first 3 X-Men movies.
Yeah.
And I watched all the Wolverine standalones. I know I'm not doing this in the right order, but I watched all the Wolverine individual ones. So now I'm watching the younger X-Men movies. So I still have the Days of Future Past, Apocalypse, and then Dark Phoenix. I think those are the only 3.
Yeah. I really liked the next one, the Days of Future Past.
I've heard that one's really good. And from is that also directed by Bryan Singer?
I can't remember. I think
because he's been a producer on most of these, but he directed the first 2. And then I hear that Days of Future Past is really good. And I think he directed that one. And I think he's the only person that really knows how to properly direct an X-Men movie. Because all the other ones feel a little like, there's something missing. It's not quite right.
I really like that one. I think Dinklage is in that one too. And he was really good in it. And then the third one I remember was okay. And then that Dark Phoenix one, I must have finished watching it, but I can't remember. It was a tough one to get through.
Yeah, some of these are a little they're hit or miss.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're hit.
I see what you're saying with the first one, but I think it's one of those movies that I kind of give a pass to because I really like the second one. And when I saw the second one, it kind of put the first movie in a better frame of reference for me. I feel that way about the Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Like that first movie came out and it was to me, it was like very by the numbers, paint by numbers. The characters were but they were setting them up for the second movie where they could go a little more wild. And that's That's what I really appreciated by it. And I know Sauce has like all sorts of opinions about these X-Men movies. He says the story goes is that the new characters X-Men was supposed to end with Days of Future Past, but the producer said they needed it next.
What does that mean? Story goes that the new characters X-Men, meaning the movies starring the new characters, the younger versions, was supposed to end with Days of Future Past, but the producers said they needed it next. Needed what next?
It.
Meaning that was supposed to be the last movie? They skipped a movie.
They skipped a movie.
I don't even know what I said.
Oh, I see what he's saying. Okay, so he was saying that Days of Future Past was supposed to be the third movie in a trilogy, but they probably didn't like the script of the second one and said, "No, make that third movie the second
Okay.
movie." I'm guessing.
All right.
I'm guessing that's what he's saying. See, producers, they just go in and they mess with things. You know what's great is the Orville, because he's got it's just all Seth MacFarlane, and he's writing this episodes, and then he gets his friends to write a couple of episodes for him because, you know, he needs a break or whatever, and that's it. And it's just a pure vision of one person, and it's so good. Not saying that a committee can't come up with a good thing, because I think Casablanca had about 3 writers on it, and they came up with a pretty good movie, but once you get to more than 3 and 4, and you get too many cooks in there, and the producer wants things done their way. Giant spider. There you go. What was the first movie you said? The Human Torch or Human Tornado?
Human Tornado. That was the Dolomite one. I talked about that last time, the Rudy Ray Moore movie.
Okay.
The other thing I just want to mention is I watched Inner Space again.
I love that movie.
It is really good. It's really good. It's actually one of those movies that every time I watch it, I like it even more.
Yeah,
because I noticed more things. I watched it on DVD, and I've been getting lazy. Like sometimes I project the DVDs, and they look like garbage. Like Three Amigos, the DVD I have looks terrible. But Inner Space looked great on DVD. Like I blew it up on a projector. It really could have passed for a Blu-ray. It was just really good quality. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it depends
and of
on.
Course,
go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and of course that's a special effects heavy movie. So a lot of those scenes, with all the miniatures and all the, the green screen or whatever they did, the optical effects and all that, it still looked pretty good. Like pretty darn good to be projected. I was really amazed.
Yeah.
And one thing I noticed during this viewing is it just clicked into my head right as I started the movie. Dennis Quaid sits down for like 95% of this movie. He's just sitting in a chair.
That is true.
And I had that in my head when I started it. And then the very first scene, he's at a party drunk, and he like crashes through the door, and he's tipsy, and he gets into a beef with some of the other Air Force pilots, and he's jealous because they get to fly spaceships and experimental stuff like that. And they drag him into the kitchen, they rough him up and everything. The next scene he's in his apartment. Meg Ryan comes over and they're dancing and everything. And then it's the next morning he has to run out to the taxi cab wearing a towel, and he's kicking the door shut. And every scene he has preceding him getting into the thing is full of motion and action. Like he knew, or it was Joe Dante or Spielberg, whoever put this together, knew he's going to be sitting down all this time. Let's make him move as much as possible before he gets in there.
They got to get their money's worth out of him.
Yeah, and then there's this great tracking shot. It's like a reverse Goodfellas. They follow them into the restaurant. This one, it's Dennis Quaid is walking, and the camera's in front of him, and it's this whole lead up of him going to the ship. And he's talking to everybody, he's shaking hands, he's kissing people, and it's just this long movement shot of him getting to the ship, and then he's stuck in that can for the rest of the movie. But it's like they make him move around, and then of course that's the balance later on. Martin Short has to do all the physical stuff outside, and he's bouncing around and everything, and Dennis Quaid just has to sit there in his little chair. But they keep it going. There's so many creative ways of how they have them mirror each other. They both have a drink at the same time, and they're like singing to the song and dancing. And
Yeah.
he asks Martin Short to go to the mirror so that he can see, so that on his monitor you can see Martin Short, and then you got Dennis Quaid, so you can actually see them talking to each other. That's another very well constructed film where they really thought about all this stuff. And even the fact that the other corporation that is also developing the miniaturization technology, the technology is the same, but the facility is completely different. The lighting, the look of the pod, the chamber, the laboratory, everything is so different. It's wonderful.
Yeah.
And there's one more great shot with Bobby Picardo, friend of the show. When after they do the whole face transformation thing, there's this scene where he comes out of the bathroom, and it's Robert Picardo and Meg Ryan's there, and you see him come out, and then he turns his back to the camera. And I always thought that was a weird choice. Like, why does he have his back to the camera? Why do they have it so you can't really see him? And he moves off screen, and then it's Meg Ryan, and she's kind of like slowly going across the bed, and like she just thinks something's wrong. Like, why isn't this Martin Short? And she goes into the bathroom and she sees the cowboy tied up in there, and then I realized that's all one shot. They did it that way because Bobby Picardo had to show his face, sneak off camera, get out of his costume, go back into the bathroom, and then be the cowboy tied up all in one shot.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I was like, this is so clever. This is so well done. And Griff is in the movie. You know who Griff is?
No.
Griff is Al Bundy's sidekick in the later seasons of Married with Children. He also works at the shoe store.
And
he's
remember.
like...
Is he the black guy?
Yeah. And
okay,
They had a few different shoe store sidekicks for Al towards the end. But he was the guy that stuck, and he was part of No Ma'am and all that. So
Right, yeah.
He's in the movie.
Okay. Yeah. That's where I've seen that guy before then.
Yeah. Pretty much that's the only place you've seen him before. He didn't do much else after that.
It's one of those movies too that's kind of lost in time. Like it just, when you see like a poster of 80s montage thing, like Inner Space is just never, like, I don't know if it did it make money? Was it a flop? I don't know.
It got an Academy Award for best effects. It beat out RoboCop. So
whoa,
yeah,
that's a bit of a tough call.
Well, Inner Space, it really is very impressive effects work. RoboCop was a great suit.
Yeah.
That was great costume design and everything. But yeah, it's one of those movies that I think when you say it, people are like, oh yeah, I know Inner Space, but it never hits the upper echelon there.
Steven brings up batteries not included. I watched that movie a ton when I was a kid on VHS.
I remember seeing that in the theater.
But I haven't seen it since then. I don't know if it holds up, or I just remember the tiles. There was a guy that was making a tile mosaic on one of the floors, and then I think he dies, and then one of the robots finishes the tiles. That's all I remember from that movie. And Jessica Tandy's in it.
What I remember from the movie is giggling a lot because there's a scene where a guy is painting a woman, and he paints her boobies, and they're all exposed in the movie. On the painting, it's like, ooh.
Sauce wants to know if that's a classic reverb Fender amp behind me, and that is a classic. I believe it's from 1973. It is a Fender Twin reverb. There you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's my tube amp. Got it about 20 years ago. So it wasn't a classic yet. It was just
It was just old.
It was just old. Yeah, nobody cared about it. I was like, oh,
it was like the Ecto 1. It was just old then.
Yeah, nobody cared about it. Now it's a classic. Well, I got it before. I think Jack White used one of those in one of his videos, and then all of a sudden it shot up there. So, but it's a little bit modified. I have half the tubes taken out, so it's easier to overdrive, so you can get that crunch, the classic sound. Anyways. But it can be easily bonded back. It's backwards compatible. Anyways, that's it. I think that's enough for this show.
They're good.
have to go eat. And Sarah's not bothering us about wrapping up the show
Ooh,
because
bothering. Oh, what
mean,
the words you choose.
Alerting
Secrets
us
revealed.
that it's time to finish the show because it's leftover night and she already ate. I said, go ahead, eat without me. It's just leftover night.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Making it work. Okay, go
Nothing
check
wrong
us
with
out.
leftovers.
Nothing.
Leftovers are a good time.
Yeah. Check us out at retro_Fandango on the Twitter. Check out our Discord. Stuff's happening over there. Melissa asked me a question this week. That was the big thing that happened over there. Somebody asked or made a statement about one of the episodes. It wasn't necessarily a question. Made a statement. That was the big thing. That's it. That's a show. We talked about washing machines. We talked about bikes. We talked about urban
Chickmunks.
infrastructure. Chipmunks.
Mm-hmm.
Talked about the chippies.
We talked about the Ninja Turtles and the Obi-Wans.
We did. We covered. We got right to it right off the bat. Talked about Obi-Wan and Turtles.
VHS collecting.
Yep, covered that. The new hotness. We did it all. You don't need another podcast. It was all done right here. All right. That's it. I think I can say goodbye.
Later, everybody.
Goodbye.